With those retweets, you're ready for Christmas?
Yeah, I'm all ready for Christmas. Well, no, I have one more gift to get, but it's someplace for my father to eat. So I'll just do that. You know what I mean? Whenever.
Not Long John Silver's?
No. This is usually I get him a nice like sit down meal, like a gift certificate for him and his wife. So something nice. But everybody else I have, gifts bought for and traded already. So
Right.
you done ready for Christmas?
Yes. So as we talked last week on the show, and I checked it, the gift for Asa, the big gift for Asa.
Yeah.
If you follow along on the other shows, it was just one of those things where we ordered it Black Friday to get a deal on it, and it was supposed to arrive the 12th, which would have been last Monday. And I didn't get any notifications, and it was a large ticket item. And, sometimes you'll get stuff like, you'll get like notifications of like, something shipping early, something shipping late, or whatever it is, right? Got nothing on this. So I decided to check when we recorded last week. And last week it said that it wasn't going to be arriving until the 27th.
Okay.
Right. So then when I did Ad Odds on Thursday with Adam, he was telling me about his Amazon shipping opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, well, let me go look at my thing. I go, I just like kind of because we're talking, it's this thing isn't supposed to ship until the 27th and so on and so forth. But these things could change. And then, between the 2 days from us recording this and recording At Odds, it went from arriving on the 27th to arriving the 17th that Saturday. Right.
Right.
So it did arrive Saturday, and they came. My dad got Asa a TV for his room, and it's a nicer TV than we have in the living room.
Swap them out.
Well, that's what we had joked with. We're going to swap them out, and then he gets it mounted up on the wall, and he's like, "Okay, now I have to wrap it, and you can't open it until Christmas." Everybody's having fun, right? So I get all the stuff logged in because everything, has to be internet connected now, right?
Right.
And then after I'm done with that, the way that it was supposed to set up, so Thursday I look and it says going to arrive on Saturday, and then Friday I get a message that says like, hang on, let me see if I can find the message here, and then we'll get into your weekend adventure. Your weekend, right. How it was much different than mine.
Right. And, go ahead.
So I get the message that just says, hey, we're using the delivery company Nonstop. That's the name of like whatever to deliver this thing on Saturday. The driver will call or text 30 minutes before the arrival. Make sure you register here, and they give me a link, so on and so forth, right? Right. So I go through the link, I go through and I register whatever it is I need to do, and I never get the text ahead of time. So like I'm dressed and ready to go, I just don't have my shoes on, right? I don't like to lounge around the house in my shoes if I'm not going somewhere. I figure I got a text coming, then I got 30 minutes, I could sit around for 30 minutes, right?
Yep, your shoes and your glasses. Right.
Well, my glasses are always on, but yes, right. So I have them. And a giant, like, Enterprise, like, moving truck, like, rental truck shows up.
Yeah.
In front of the house, and it's just kind of idling there. And April's like, I think that's it, right?
Is Asa home at this point?
So he's home, but because he has the TV set up, he's distracted.
Ah, technology. Okay.
We both could have been murdered and he wouldn't have noticed, right?
Right. And then he would have been Batman. But anyway.
Right. So the guys bring it in. They like bring it up the side thing. And I go, hey, guys, okay, bringing it in the house, or we got it from here? They're like, we'll bring it in the house. I go, you okay bringing it downstairs? And they're like, let me look at the steps. And you've been in my house before, those back steps there. They're like, yeah, we can get it down there. I go, all you got to do is just get it down the steps, and then we're golden, right? Mm-hmm. So they do. I tip them, because, again, it's Christmas. It's whatever. I don't know if they were supposed to come in the house with it, right? Especially with the guy with his just the tip T-shirt that he's wearing on the job. Sweatshirt, excuse me.
Right, well, you got to keep warm and give your opinion at the same time, right. Joe.
I got roped in to a conversation at the super secret science job today. Usually it's on the negative side, right? Mm-hmm. Pun intended. I don't know. But just a lady, I think, who ran into a situation. She's from New York, but she's close enough to upstate New York. And I think she has relatives specifically in some of the states that she mentioned to me. And maybe not being able to get a chance to see them this holiday season for their refusal to do certain things.
Oh, okay. I think I'm mopping what you're spilling.
Right. So I'm treading lightly here, right?
Right. I think I get what you're jabbing at, Joe.
There you go. So we got it inside, we got it downstairs, and then Christmas Eve night, he goes to bed, and we get it all set up. And I'm excited that like our whole plan, our thing of fruition, is going to come true. That it'll be like the last thing he opens is the accoutrements for it, and I have to tread lightly because he's still awake and he's nosy.
Now, my question for you is, how often does he go in the basement?
Well, because his drums are down in the basement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's down there at least once or twice a day, right? But he's kind of all over the place, But recently, within the last like week or two, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe, something happened that April got him scared to go down to the basement alone.
Oh, is it baby ghosts?
No, I think it's an onset of snakes. Did I tell you that like the cat was catching snakes over the summer?
No, I was unaware that you had a snake catcher. The cat's a snake handler?
Yeah, it's like little like garter snakes,
Right, he's gonna be born a snake handler, gonna die a snake handler.
Yeah. So like a little garter snakes, and the little cat, Tortellini, was getting them. Mm-hmm. While the other cat, who's a big giant moose, is deathly afraid of them. They're like little garter snakes, right?
Right.
And I might say the most recent one that we got might have got thrown on to crawl in the van that was parked in front of the house for 7 months or 6 months or whatever it was.
Oh, okay.
Because the snake was damaged but still alive when the cat brought it to us,
Right.
So we had like a hole in the cinder blocks of the bay doors in the backyard, like going from the backyard to the basement, right?
Yeah, the metal, like, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so we went and got like some sort of like industrial strength sealant thing. We're like, okay, this should now prevent any snakes from coming in. And then a couple were just found recently, and I say couple, the one week or two ago, and then the cat knocked something under the stove, so we pulled the thing out from underneath the stove, and there was like a dead one under there, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Could they have been in there before you sealed it, or do you think you have another hole?
Well, so that's the thing. We might have another hole somewhere, but April thinks that we have a snake who has laid eggs in the house.
Oh, snake infestation.
And she wants to call a snake exterminator, which I don't even know if is a thing.
I think just a term, exterminator, like, can handle that.
Right.
He doesn't, he's not specifically for snakes,
Right. So I said, okay, go ahead and call him. And she hasn't. So it's not that big of a deal, I guess.
Right.
But I think that, like, he's fine with it. Like, he's more trepidatious, but there was something else that must have happened that he's kind of afraid to go in the basement. But at least with this, it is set up that you could, like, angle the table in a way that you could play by yourself, but obviously somebody else will go down there and play with them,
Cool. That's cool. I'm glad that it all worked out for you.
Yep. Most importantly, though, like, everything was easy to move in because we got 0 snow this week.
I hate you. You know that? And it wasn't even that we got a lot.
Yes.
It was the fact that we got rain, then sleet, then freezing rain, then snow on top of it, that it was a goddamn clusterfuck to clean up. It was just like, and then by the time it ended, it was pouring rain.
Yep.
So it was like wet cement. So, like, luckily I had help, but it was just, I was just like, and then I looked, I watch the news in the morning and they're like, oh, here's Scranton, here's like from the tower or whatever. They have the camera and you can see the snow and we got about an inch or two, of wet, heavy, blah, blah, blah. And there's like crusty ice under it so you could fall and break your neck. And then here's Wilkes-Barre Square where there was a light dusting of snow, but the rain has washed it away. And I was like, fuck Joe and his rain, He could go rot for all I care. I was so mad at you.
So it was supposed to be Thursday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we got it was sleeting, right? But no real accumulation. And that morning we went out and we got the snowblower out and we get it primed and ready to go to make sure it's going to run because they're calling for 4 to 6 inches and they canceled school on Thursday and Thursday was an at-home school day and then Friday was just a no school day for the kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thursday we get nothing. Nothing. And I'm not going to run this, it's there's some slush outside. And April's yeah, there's not even enough slush to sweep. What the hell are we going to do? I'm nothing, I guess, I guess we're just going to get it tomorrow, right? Because they already canceled school for the kids, right? So I do at odds with Adam Thursday night. And he's like, oh, I've already shoveled 4 times. And I'm okay, I'm sorry about that. I got nothing,
Right.
So Friday I wake up, still nothing, get ready to go to work. I'm sitting here doing my work. I go up for my break at 11:30, and I see it's finally starting to come down. But it's the big giant flakes,
Right.
And I'm oh, that stuff's not sticking. And this is going to be over soon. I go, we escaped this time, right? So that's 11:30. I go out for my lunch at 1, and already it's just rain, and it's already just all washed away. And then Sunday, I went up to my dad's, who lives up your neck of the woods, right? He lives on the by St. Anne's,
Right, I've been there.
Yeah. And he still has the snow plow piles at the end of his driveway and at the end of his road and everything. And I'm oh, it must suck to be you, huh?
Yes, it does. So
yeah. I
don't think we're ever going to do a podcast together again because of what happened. That's how mad I am at you. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I was couldn't it have gone north another 20 miles? You know what I mean?
And so I guess everyone's freaking out. I saw friends of the show, David Pincannon, saying out his way, out Colorado, that area is supposed to get hit pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
And then Tim and Marcus are traveling up from Maryland, Virginia for Friday for LVAC. And then obviously our good buddy DJ, who lives in the higher elevations, he just gets snow every day of his life,
Right, yeah.
And it claims it's supposed to snow on Friday, but it's also calling for a high of 59.
See, that's what the way I saw it is we're supposed to get rain Thursday and Friday, right? And it's supposed to be in the 50s on Friday. But what's going to happen is it's going to rain / into Saturday morning, but the temperature is going to drop 40 degrees in that time. So I'm more worried, we can get snow at the end of it or freezing rain, but anything that doesn't run into the drains or gets ice dammed behind, if you shovel your sidewalk or whatever, or not even shovel your sidewalk because it's going to rain, but anything that's laying there could flash freeze into a pond, you know what I mean? Like a frozen pond. So I don't know what we're going to get, but right now they're saying for our area in the valleys, mostly rain, maybe snow at the end, which is going to suck if it starts snowing early on Christmas Eve, because then I have nobody to help me. You know what I mean? It's all get out there and blow out my heart. So
you could tip one of the boys that work at Long John Silver's to come back to your house with you.
There you go. Nothing like tipping boys to come home with you.
That's right.
What could happen?
You have a windowless van that they could travel in with you, right?
I knew where there was one for a short time, but
no, this van had windows.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I don't have access to a windowless van.
Mm-hmm.
But that says free candy on the side.
Oh my goodness.
But so we'll see. I'm going to knock on wood, and I know you hate this, so hopefully nothing will, it won't be bad.
Right, and I got, like I said, we got the trip going down to
Sokol
for Friday. I got no worries. Everything will be fine.
Yep. Hopefully it'll all work out, But I do have one small story, if you don't mind.
Oh, yes. That's what this show is about. Stories that don't fit into regular...
right. Yeah. Yesterday I had to give some of my human waste to a postal worker. So these days, I don't know when it happened, but I get a thing in the mail, a box, and it says like from my health insurance people. Like, it says the name of the health insurance on the side. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And I open it up, and there's another box inside that says, keep this box, like there's a piece of paper, keep this box for returning. And then inside, they have a specimen jar. And they're like, oh, due to like something like with your kidneys, blah, 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 we test people, like, on the insurance for whatever, proteins, it doesn't matter. But we want you to piss in this cup in the morning, then seal it back up, and we're going to give you a bag and then put it in this cardboard box that we give you with no tape and just send it back. That literally says human sample, exempt human sample inside. And I'm like, when did we get to the point where I have to take my own samples and mail them to my doctor?
That's what you get for going to the doctor.
That is true. Two things. I don't go to the doctor, and when I have to, I lie. I think those are two strong, things that you should do when you're with the doctor. How's your diet? It's great, Doc. It's great. You know what? I only eat steamed vegetables for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I put down a tray of pizza to be like, it's on the chair next to me. I'm doing great, Doc.
That's right. I just hook pizza with the onions right up to my veins.
I brought a walk-in slice into the office with me.
That's right. So yeah. But I was just like, oh, I got to do this, and then they give you a bag, and they're like, seal this. I just got like the hazardous thing on the side, and they're like, oh, it's a certain brand of bag, so it should be good if the thing busts. And I have to write all my information on the side, like what time I was like, this is like, I can't go to the lab that's literally 10 blocks from my house that I've been going to anytime. What's next? I got to take my own blood, Joe? Oh, right. They need a blood, a stool, and a urine sample. I'm just going to send them my underwear.
There you go. You punch yourself in the face and hold a cup under your nose.
That's right. So I guess I pissed hot for proteins or something.
Oh, there you go. But see, I'm of a similar mindset with you, is that you should never lie to your doctor. You should always tell them everything.
Right.
But I just don't go.
Oh, okay. See,
so I don't have to tell them anything. Like, God forbid I get roped into going to a doctor sometime in the near future.
Right.
It's over,
Yeah.
Everything's being held together with, like, tenuously with over-the-counter non-prescription things,
Yep. My body's being held together with liquor to hide the symptoms and hope. That's all it is. Copious amounts of hope.
I've been a couple months off drinking, intentionally, unintentionally. But when I was sick a couple weeks ago, I was taking, like, in the morning, I was taking like a handful of just like everything, and April's like, shouldn't you take those like spaced out throughout the course of the day?
No, potent that way, more potent.
Right. When you take like the handful of the Mucinex decongestant, a Xanax, a Zyrtec, 4 heavy duty Tylenol, and the extra strength store brand Dayquil, Yeah. You just put them all in your hand, just throw them all in your mouth, switch them around, and give them a chew, I
agree. I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah. And again, I go to a doctor, they'll probably prescribe me one thing that'll take care of all my problems, you know?
Yeah, that usually doesn't do it, you know? So.
Right. But enough nonsense about us, which no one cares about. Enough. Let's get into stuff about the show and the networks and everything else. Thanks to everyone who checked out the Mark Pirro special that dropped this past Friday. Something that has been in the works for nearly a year, maybe more.
Right.
And then, you know, when we got a chance to get Mark on the blower, it was one of those things where I think, so, you know, if you remember the lore of all this, we were tooling around on this website and there was a phone number when we did Polish Vampire in Burbank for 6 Never Seen Movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I called the number, and the next day Mark called me back.
With a how did you get this number question?
Right. And I said, well, it's on your website, sir. And then quickly after that, they revamped the website.
Sir, right.
Yes. And I was like, oh my God, I asked him if we could interview him, and he said yes, and everything else like that. And then I would email him, but I wasn't one of those people who would like email him. Like, I wasn't emailing him like every week. And I wasn't
even incessant like, about it.
What was that?
You weren't incessant about it.
No, listen, it was a guy who was returning my call because of a phone number that he mistakenly put on his website, you know?
Right.
So, like, it was like every 2 months I would email him. Like, and it would usually be after we would record. I'm like, hey, you know, so on and so forth. And there was issues where, like, the website was all screwy as well. His website. So I'd be like, hey, you know, hey, Mr. Pirro, we spoke on this day, and, you know, we mentioned about maybe getting together and doing something, and, you know, talked about being on the podcast, and like, hey, here's a copy of the podcast of us talking about whatever movie it was, and, you know, get back in touch with me, maybe we'll work something out, and sent like 3 of those emails and got no responses, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I figured it was a lost cause, and I forget how it came up. I just decided to, like, look for him on Facebook. And I didn't realize he's an olds
very
active. Facebook.
Right.
So I sent him a message after we recorded The Deceased Won't Desist. And he got back in touch with me like in an hour. And then we were just kind of messaging back and forth, and we set it up for that. I checked with you. And I said, oh, it's Monday, okay? And you're like, hell yeah. So we did it that Monday, like it was the beginning of the month. And then you and I kind of went back and forth with, you know, how and when we were going to release this.
Yeah, and I was kind of the mind, I felt bad putting it behind a paywall for him being nice enough to do it for us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, we were like, give it out for free, you know? And I'm like fine with that. So maybe that'll entice somebody to go back and listen. I don't know.
For sure. But I you know, I had a couple people reach out to me and said that it was really good, whether they were Patreon people or not, just kind of like the enthusiasm that we had and how forthcoming Mark was in regards to everything, I thought was really enjoyable.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm kicking myself on, I wish we did the video version of it.
So do I. But that's all you, Joe. I would always like to do video, but you're set in your ways. No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because he looked like he was like, oh, we're doing this. You know what I mean?
Right. I'm guessing he probably thought it was going to be something that was going to be on like YouTube or something.
Right. Because he was like, people will listen to this.
Yeah.
But no, I'm with you. And I would have liked to maybe he could have seen like, you know, how I guess maybe it might have been good because I was probably grinning like an idiot the whole time.
Yeah, that's okay though, you know?
So, and that was kind of it. I don't know. And I do like at the end when you were like, thank you for your time, Mr. Perry. He's like, it's Mark.
We're old friends now.
Yeah.
So we had that this past week. Patreon folks, this week we'll be getting the rundown of us cobbling together the list of the movies that we're going to watch for 2023 on the movie show. It's the Comic Oddities. And once that comes out, you know, we'll kind of like let everyone know how it's going to work. If you listen to that, you'll hear what 12 movies we're going to be doing for next year. We've already picked what the first one is.
Right.
And what I was thinking was, since we're just kind of picking the random, like in the middle of the list, right? Of like what we're starting with, you know?
Right.
I was thinking maybe we should just do it random for the rest of the year.
Put them in a randomizer, or
Yeah, and
okay,
let
I'm
fate
fine
decide
with that.
what we watch next.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. And then, we'll figure out maybe a way, because some of these things might be difficult for some people to get, so we'll talk
Right.
about that to our Patreon people,
Right, because I was thinking of a movie that missed. I don't know if it was on any of the original lists, but I was like, I don't know why we didn't think of that one. But anyway, so maybe at some point we'll need a substitute,
Right, if we do. But there, we can always change the list as need be,
Right.
And then lastly, starting next week, we'll start assigning on the main show, of course, the 2023 Todd and Joe Have Issues, which is the Sandman stuff.
Right.
I don't know if we've made an official announcement. We probably did, but it's been like a week or two since we've talked about it.
Okay.
Todd put it together of like what we're going to read.
Mm-hmm.
We kicked the tires a little bit of like what the order should be, and I deferred to Todd in regards to this, that for the most part we're reading it in the order in which it was released.
Right, was published. One or two places there's like a short story that would come out in a special, and it's like, oh, well, that came out like the issue before the end of a storyline. It's like, well, why push it off? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not going to ruin a lot of it, but I'm a firm believer of Neil wrote those issues in a certain order to give you information when he thought you needed it, if that makes any sense. But It's pretty close to the way they came out.
And then we just kind of need to break up that list so it works out to be 52 weeks a year,
Yep, I figured that seems like a you skill more than a Todd skill. Because the Todd skill was acquiring the whole list and putting it together. So
yes.
So
it was just like once we figured out like where we were putting things in or weren't putting things in, how long certain things are, so that we're not like inundating people. It's like, well, this week we have 3 22-page issues to read, but 3 weeks from now, just the way that it works out, we have 3 48-page stories to read,
Right, or all this week we have is 1 4-page story out of a special.
Yeah, and I want to try to get that balance.
Right, because when you get towards the end, before you hit Overture, which comes back around again, everything is like 4 to 8 page specials, because he was done writing the book. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, for this, I'll just do a quick little short story with an artist. So that's why when I was putting the list together, as stupid as it seems, I was like, if it's a Sandman issue, you knew how many pages it was. But everything else, I was like, oh, this is a book at 160 pages. You know what I mean? Whatever. So hopefully that'll help out a little.
But by me saying it aloud on the show, that is, and what I might even end up doing is, and you tell me what your thoughts on this is that when I put up the weekly poll post, will be like, these are the issues or stories or whatever it is that we're reading this week. How we used to do the old poll or the old Todd and Joe Have Issues, where there would just be like an image or two from the story in there.
Right.
And then, our plug stuff. But then I was thinking about putting into each one of the poll keep saying poll post, into each one of the posts for Todd and Joe Have Issues, like put the full reading list in there.
Yeah, and then each week put what we're going to read, kind of a deal?
Well, so the top is going to be like, here's what we're reading, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Here's like a little blurb. Here's all our plugs, because each of the posts have plugs in them. And then underneath the plugs is like the full reading list. And then as the weeks go on, like stuff is getting crossed off.
We could do that. Now, are you saying we're doing this in the regular show post, or we're doing a Todd and Joe Issues like we have with the polls that we're doing?
Right. It's because, if you remember back in the day when we would I would assign you a book and you would assign me a book, we would have the Todd and Joe Have Issues post that would go up like every Thursday.
That's right. I forgot that would go up every Thursday. You're right. I'm trying to remember how all this is done.
It's been a while. So that's why it's kind of like, yeah.
I'm with what everything you're saying. You put the picture of something that goes with what we're doing, the thing, and then we could definitely do the list that crossed off as we go. That sounds like a great idea.
Cool. All right. So that's it for Longbox Heroes After Dark. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I think Hanukkah is over by the time many of you are listening to this. Go sign up for the Patreon. Go make some Amazon purchases. Don't make any returns. And again, thanks for everyone. And we'll be here next week. We don't miss weeks, man, even when we're sick.
No days off.
That's right.
You're listening to the soon-to-be-named network, the Lamborghini of podcast networks.